Welcome back to the Healthy with Heartland podcast. My name's Justin Freishtat. I am your host. Also with your favorite co-hosts and creative directors today, Simon and Shannon. And then we also have a very special guest, Heartland's own wellness consultant, Alyse Ponchione. Say hi, Alyse.
Hello, guys.
Welcome, Alyse.
Thank you for having me.
Excited.
Yes, so we are going to get into Alyse's background. She's one of the newest members of our health and wellness squad. But before we get into all that, let's send it over to Simon and Shannon for some announcements.
Awesome. Welcome back, Heartland family. If you are a member of the Heartland family, you can enjoy an awesome reorder special this month. We have a pack of salmon burgers from True North Seafood coming along with your reorder, absolutely free. So if you place your reorder between now and September 30th, you can take advantage of that awesome offer. If you are not a member of the Heartland Foodies group, make sure you go head over there on the Facebook page. The link is in the description of this post. Invite yourself, join so you can be a part of all things Heartland. We have awesome recipes, food, tricks, tips, and of course, all the awesome information that we get from our Heartland Foodie members. So if you have been there, great. Make sure that you invite your 5 friends so that we can get to 5K faster. We're going to do a giveaway of $1,000 worth of Heartland Farm Source products when we reach 5,000 members. So make sure to do that.
Nice.
And with that, let's get into the podcast.
Let's do it.
All right, Alyse, why don't we start with just your background and how you even ended up at Heartland Foods?
Cool. So I got into bodybuilding, when was it? Fall of 2017. I joined Coliseum Gym in Columbia, Maryland, and I trained with Jim there. He got me started, and then I met his client, Jana, who is Jerry's wife.
Yeah.
We would talk a little bit back and forth, so I think we trained a couple times together under Jim, and that's how I met Jerry. I actually nannied for him and Jana for a year while I was in prep for my show. So I was going through all of that. And I knew about Heartland for about 3 years, I think. I just was in a nanny contract, so I wasn't able to join the family yet. And then this past May, I knew like it was a company I firmly believed in and loved and wanted to be a part of the team. So reached out to Jerry and you and got things going in, was it May or June?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yep.
And the rest is history.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah. Bringing you on's been awesome because you're so aligned with everything that we stand for to begin with. So coming from that health and wellness background, knowing what it takes and the sacrifices to eat healthy and actually, be conscious about this, really, really good foundation for you. And you're off to a great start. And
Thank you.
if any of Alyse's new customers around here, drop a comment and say hello.
Yes,
Yes.
please.
So yeah, I guess what are some, having nothing to do with Heartland, just some key health and wellness takeaways that you can kind of give people in terms of what you've learned through a bodybuilding prep and that whole experience?
Prepping for a show, I definitely learned discipline and consistency. Those were something I lacked for a very long time. High school and college, I played volleyball in high school. I got away with eating whatever I wanted to. College, party a little bit, not really worried about your working out at 6 a.m. and all of that. So gained a little bit of weight. My aunt, she is a bikini competitor. She actually turned pro last year.
Wow.
And so watching her, I figured this is something I kind of want to try, like mainly just to live a healthier lifestyle, lose a little bit of weight that I gained in college. And once I started that, it was a huge adjustment. It was not easy. There was a lot of failures. But I think the main aspect of just learning, how beneficial, I guess, whole foods are, and how it's going to take your training to the next level and all of that. I forgot the question. Sorry, I'm like rambling.
Yeah, just things you learn, right? So, what does a day look like?
In prep, I was waking up at 4:30 in the morning, doing 50 minutes of stairs for cardio. Then I'd go to Jana's house and nanny for a couple hours. And then I would, from there, I'd go back to the gym and lift for an hour and a half. And then go to my second job. And all this whole time I have my meals packed with me. So, you know, timing my meals perfectly throughout the day, eating, driving in the car. Like, it didn't matter if it was cold cucumbers and chicken or fish. Like, when I had to eat, I had to eat. It didn't matter where I was. And then I usually would go back in the evenings to finish if I had more cardio or circuit training to do. And then trying to get to bed by 8 or 9. So it was just, if I wasn't working, I was at the gym.
Wow.
Wow.
So
talk about discipline.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, the key takeaways there are just when you want to make something happen, like there's just no excuses, right?
No excuses. No.
Especially us out on the road, going to see families. Half my meals are eaten in the car.
Yep.
Yeah.
It doesn't, I mean, I used to look at food as, well, I mean, I still do, as, you know, it's good. It tastes good. You know, I was an emotional eater, so I'd eat when I was happy, sad, depressed a little bit, you know, whatever it was. Now, you know, food is fuel. You know, I don't necessarily always, it's not about the taste of it. It's about, you know.
Yeah. Like, do you get questions from people like, eat in the car? Like, well, how do you heat it up? How do you this? Like,
So, yeah. I
no,
don't.
I eat it cold.
I actually like cold chicken now, you know.
I really like cold chicken better than
reheating
chicken.
it. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
So it's not necessarily about how the food tastes or if it tastes good. It's really just about getting in like the macronutrients that you need per day. That's kind of what it sounds like.
And what's going to fuel you. Yeah.
Especially when you have more than one training session. I mean, you said cardio in the morning, gym. So it's at least 2, if not more.
Yeah. I think towards like the 6 weeks out mark, I was there 2 to 3 times a day. Probably spent 5 or 6 hours a day at the gym.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many times a week do you actually cook the food?
I do bulk. So
Like a prep.
I usually, my go-to is just, you know, 9 or 12 chicken breasts in a crock pot. That'll last me 3 days. I cut up my vegetables ahead of time. I mean, in prep, you're really not eating much, so I relied heavily on chicken and cucumbers and egg whites. So most of it was like bulk cooking. We throw 6 packs of ground turkey in a big bin and cook it at once.
So really, you're only cooking twice a week,
Yeah.
2 to 3 times a week. So it's really, I feel like most people don't have a system for efficiency to make this happen, and that's why you fail and get the quick meal,
Yep.
the bad choice.
Yeah. What's convenient?
Yep. So my question is, so I know that there's always like a certain point, like a light bulb. You spoke about, you know, some of your inspiration with your aunt and that kind of thing. Where do you think the biggest transition was from what you were doing? I know you were playing volleyball, so there was a little bit of athleticism and things like that. Like you grew up like that. Where do you think that kind of changed and what inspired that?
I think I got to the point where I was so just sick of my eating habits and how I physically felt, how I looked. You know, I was never like obese, but I was so uncomfortable in my own skin. So it got to the point where I just hit a really bad low. My food choices were terrible. My idea around food was very unhealthy. I didn't have a good relationship with food, and I knew like long term I had to make a change for my mental health as well. So when I reached out to Jim at Coliseum, he was my first bodybuilding coach. You know, he really set the fundamentals down for me and laid it out on how to do things correctly, how to meal prep, how to make smarter choices with your foods. And then when I think the turning point was when I committed to doing a show. You know, I was still back and forth going, you know, I'd have like a good 3 weeks and then, you know, I'd binge out on the weekend on cake and Chipotle and ice cream. Like it was bad. I'd like run to Dunkin' Donuts and get like 3 donuts. It was bad. It was a bad cycle.
Right.
when I committed to actually doing my first show, something just clicked in my head, and all emotions got turned off. And I was like, all right, 6 months, time to grind. Like, we're eating chicken and cucumbers for 6 months. We're going to do cardio until we're, crying.
Right. No, yeah.
And once I committed, and I actually switched coaches to Derek Natcher. He coaches my husband right now. He set me up mentally to get ready for that prep and physically. And yeah, once I decided, I don't know, something just changed in my mind, and there was no slacking on anything. I didn't miss a cardio session. I didn't, eat 1 gram of peanut butter off plan. I just dug deep for 6 months, and
that's awesome.
Mentally, it's what I needed, I think. Just the discipline and the consistency of it. Yeah.
I mean, we talk about it all the time on the podcast. Like, you have to in order to be a good product, you have to eat good products, right? So I think that, just that transition of going from, and we talk about it all the time, like hitting that low, I feel like is so important because you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Exactly.
And I feel like people have to go through that sort of feeling in order to make that change. Right. But I want to get back to a little bit of your bodybuilding. So for those people who haven't bodybuilded before, maybe haven't even thought about even looking into it, right? So they're starting with just their diet. Like, what is some advice that you would give to somebody that is thinking about doing that or has never even thought about it?
My first piece of advice would be to be a hire coach. It takes the stress and the anxiety and the questioning aspects of it all out. You don't have to worry about it. They give you a plan, they set it up for you, and you follow the plan.
Right.
And you don't have to hire a bodybuilding coach. There's plenty of bodybuilding coaches that actually have a lot of lifestyle clients who they're just helping, live a healthier life and finding something that works for them that's more manageable for the rest of their life. They're giving them the learning tools that they need, to be able to do it on their own in a couple of years. But I think for when you're first starting out, it's really important to do your research, find a good coach who can guide you along the way and give you the simple tools you need, to learn about macronutrients, training, what it all does and how it benefits you.
Yeah.
That thing you said, you made a decision in getting a coach. What's funny about the connection there, why most people won't get a coach, is because they actually won't make the decision. Because that's making the decision.
Right.
Exactly.
When you're accountable to something else besides yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So whether it's a public statement, like I'm doing this, and you put that on social media, well, now you're a fraud if you don't do it.
Exactly.
So now you're accountable to your community or your coach or however you're accountable. That's actually where I think a decision is made, is when you are actually accountable to something other than yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree to that. Definitely.
And I think it's awesome, like if you do have a coach, I mean, I don't know how much of it is like you're reaching out to them and like you said, the questioning, because I know, like, I didn't have a coach, but Shannon was kind of like a health coach, right? And she kind of like brought the information to me where I was like, why are we eating this way? You know what I mean?
Right.
And if you don't have that information, I feel like that's why a lot of people will fall off, because there's a lack of information. And so I think the coach does that same exact thing.
Definitely.
Whereas like you can go to them and they're going to give you real information based so that you can it makes your decision easier. So along the way that, the stumbles that you're going to have. And cause I think everybody kind of goes through it. Like, you're like, why am I doing this?
Right.
You know what I mean? Why am I putting myself through this torture?
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to do that. And it's a mindset kind of switch. And I feel like the coach kind of helps you with that, right?
Definitely.
Like they kind of guide you through it and it provides that level of accountability.
Definitely.
But as well as like the information that you need. And I think that, I mean, it's great. That's why we have, so many different coaches come on and talk, because it's huge. You know what I mean? That information and that guidance, really. Now, the other thing I have a question on is, you said that you've done this together with your spouse.
Yes.
How was that?
So Blake has been bodybuilding for forever. He's like started powerlifting when he was 9 years old. So he's like been in a gym for forever, and that's just who he is.
You can tell when you see him because he's pretty swole.
You should see him right now. He's 2 weeks out from a show, and he looks insane.
I have seen.
He feels insane.
Oh yeah, Shred City.
Yeah, he is. He's struggling.
Mentally, just with the end of it.
Yeah, he's very low carb, like low carb.
Just a quick question for those people who don't know: how long does does that last? Like from when you commit to like when the show happens? Like how long is that period where you're working out, eating like that?
It kind of varies. Well, for like serious bodybuilders, they do like an off season where you're still eating like on plan 24/7. You're just eating like in a surplus to grow muscle. So it's still like consistent, pretty strict. But when you're prepping for a show, it just depends on like where you're at.
Right. You might need
starting
more
point.
time.
So like for my show, I started off at 24 weeks out. So I was in prep for, a good amount of time. And Blake he started right around the same time. His show was 3 weeks before mine. So back to your question, it helped me tremendously because I was like, okay, well, he's doing this. I can't quit because we're kind of doing it together, even though we were doing two different shows. And just, it also helped because all we had in our house was bodybuilder food. So it wasn't like,
no torture.
If I was going to binge on something, it would have been like a jar of peanut butter or like, I don't know, rice cakes or something.
You're slamming chicken breast. You're like,
exactly. Yep. But it helped me tremendously just to have somebody, who understood what I was going through.
Yeah.
I would say for our relationship, it wasn't really a challenge. It was more so we were so focused on getting to our shows that like we weren't putting our relationship first, but because we were both doing that, it didn't really affect us.
Right.
We both were zombies for an extended period of time. So we were just like, we both had a goal and we knew we had to be selfish with it.
Yeah.
Whereas now that he is competing and I'm not currently, I'm able to like be more supportive towards him and, help him with things that he needs help with, like prepping food, making sure all of his stinky cardio clothes are like clean because he's going through so much.
Yeah, that's hard.
I'm able to be more of like a backbone for him because I'm not dying at the same time that he's dying,
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah. It definitely, it works very well for us. We both understand the lifestyle. I don't compete right now, but I still like living that bodybuilding lifestyle. I pack my meals. I eat like a bodybuilder. I train like a bodybuilder. I just don't have that pressure of like getting ready for a show. So,
and you're not, so it's so important about the relationship aspect to be able to support your spouse, to be selfish in the pursuit of their goals.
Exactly.
That is huge for any successful relationship if you're going to progress in life, period. Because there's going to be periods of time, whether it's in business, family, whatever, that you're going to have to be selfish for the greater good in the future. Or to take control of your health. And to have a spouse that's not supportive of that, a lot of people really struggle with that because that's a big fight that they're fighting.
Yeah.
Yep. Definitely.
Because I mean, you can see why. You know what I mean? Like if one person is there and they're eating a certain way, it's really hard. You know what I mean? For the other spouse as well, who's not eating that way. Like maybe they don't want to eat chicken breast and those kind of things. But this is I'm going to turn it into something totally different. But even if you're not eating that way and you are supporting your spouse or whatnot, like, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, but like the next generation, like you should probably keep it within yourself. Like if you're not eating that way and you don't agree with it, for the next generation of people, you should be teaching them to eat, you know what I mean, cleaner. Because I think that's part of the biggest, like some of the issues that we have now. It's like the younger generation still believes in the fast food and these kind of things where now we have this information that, you know what I mean? Like those things are bad for you and whatnot. Whereas, some people still try to, entertain the fact of like, oh, I'm gonna still, treat my kids to this or that or whatever. And I don't have kids yet. You know what I mean? Hopefully a blessing one day. But at the same time, like I see just in my own family, right? There's two types of diets and two different types of people. And it's like, it's really hard, I feel like, transferring, the information and like the things that you're going through to like other people so that they don't have to go through those same things.
Right.
I don't know if you guys deal with that or if you've seen that, like that kind of thing where, you know what I mean? Like you guys are eating the right way, but then, other people are not, and you want them to eat the right way. But there's also just like this aspect of culture and whatever. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to come off as, what am I trying to say? Like pushing it too hard, because I'll get a lot of feedback when I was in prep and I had to go to like social events. I'd bring my meals with, and I try to be discreet about it, you know, because I don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. But, you know, you get comments like, oh, you can't have like just a little bite. You can't try this. You can't try that. And it's almost like, my husband and I talk about this sometimes. Like sometimes people are almost pushing their insecurities on you because you're eating healthy while they're eating like a burger and french fries, which there's nothing wrong with eating a burger and french fries. Don't get me wrong. I'm all about like moderation. Right. But when you're prepping for a show, it's extreme. Like you can't have nibbles of cookies and stuff. Right?
Think about where society is for you to say what you just said. I tried to hide my healthy, good decision from this group of people.
Because
isn't that crazy?
Their insecurities of revolving around food and their food choices.
And I think, back to what you were saying, it took my mind a total different direction. Why is that? Well, on a pack of cigarettes, it says, this shit's going to kill you. Oh, we're live. This is going to kill you, right? It's going to kill you.
Right.
We accept that. Well, we also know that the massive amount of people that are dying from heart disease, why is that not on the cornflakes? Why is it not on the bad stuff? It's okay to eat bad stuff in moderation. It's probably okay to have a cigarette every now and then if you really want one. Right. But why is it not public information that this will kill you in excess?
Right. Correct. And why is it looked at as like an anomaly or like a bad thing
if you're
doing the right thing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you know that you're eating the right way and that kind of thing, like you said, like you're hiding it and people are like, oh, you can't. No, how come? Da, 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 da. It's like, I feel like it's so reversed.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Completely. Now, I will say I've been very fortunate where my family and friends were super supportive. I've just, heard from other people, and my husband, it happened to him like multiple occasions where, you kind of get shamed for bringing a healthy meal to a picnic or, a family event, which sucks.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of the mental preparation with anything.
It's just as much mental as it is physical, really. I think that's even more true just from what I've heard, about bodybuilding, but it's just as much that mental decision as it is like the physical decision. You're deciding just as much what to eat as you are like to drive to the gym and do your workout. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? So it's wild.
That's great.
Society.
Yeah. it's kind of backwards. And I feel like, that's why we do this podcast. That's why we have, people, you work with us, but that's why we have people that come on the podcast and they speak on these things. And I'm glad that the culture here at Heartland Foods is that way because, slowly but steadily, I feel like things are sort of taking a turn, right? I don't know how much, I think I saw, I'm not going to name the grocery store name, but now they're talking about they're doing farm specific products and stuff like that, right? So it is changing. And I feel like the marketing is changing, but you really have to dive into, again, sourcing and those kind of things, right? So can you talk a little bit about, sourcing and like the quality, how important that is, especially when you're bodybuilding?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't start using Heartland's food until a couple months ago. So when I was in prep, we were just buying Costco chicken, and I think that we did upgrade our standards to Whole Foods because my husband, he is big about like where our products are coming from, and he does like a lot of research, and we realized like Costco chicken, well, for my digestion, I was always kind of like off. Like I was bloated, gassy, just uncomfortable. And I never really knew why, but it was probably from eating an excess amount of poor quality chicken. When I switched to Heartland, I like noticed a huge difference immediately. Like no stomach distension, no discomfort, no gas, no bloating. And then that just translated to my performance. I didn't feel too like sluggish at the gym. I didn't feel like uncomfortable or anything. So switching to the highest quality of meat, like it made a huge difference in, my digestion, my health, and my performance.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It sounds like it just as much as it was about, bettering your performance, like how you felt was just as important to you.
Oh, definitely.
And I think that's probably, I mean, bodybuilding is, like you said, one of those things you have to be very strict. You have to be very on. You have to make sure that you're regimented and sticking to like that schedule. So like how you feel, right, day to day, your emotions going through life, like you forget, like bodybuilders are people too, right? Like you have a bad day, like, you know, you don't want to go do the hour of cardio, all those things. So like putting yourself in that best position that you could in terms of what you were eating to make yourself feel the best, like that's huge.
Definitely.
I feel like that's a t-shirt. Bodybuilders are human too.
I like that.
I mean, right? Because it's really an accomplishment. It's a feat, you know, what you're able to do. And so just to hear, like, you know, that there are struggles and obviously that, you know, there's things that you do that help you, like having a coach and things like that, but that, you know, you're a normal person, you're making those like conscious decisions, but it's up to that each individual person to make those healthy decisions for themselves, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah.
Talk to us about the show, though. I'm really interested. So when you go to a show, I've seen some of them on like TV. So you come out and there's like a line. Like, what happens?
How does it go?
So there's prejudging first, and then there's finals. So prejudging is usually in the mornings, and then finals are in the evenings. Prejudging is just that. They prejudge everybody in your class. So you go up on stage. That was my first time ever being on stage in front of an audience. So that was nerve-wracking. And I remember my calves were cramping up real bad backstage, and you have to like flex and hold poses. So I'm like, how am I going to do this without collapsing on my face?
Oh my goodness.
So you go out and you do like a little individual routine and to music for, I think it's like 15 to 20 seconds I was in the figure division. So there's different divisions. And then I can't remember if they line, they line everybody up that's in your class, and they will just do a round of posing, and they'll move you around based on like who they want to compare you to. Usually if you're in the center of that stack of girls, that means you want to be in the center. That's essentially first place.
Wow.
And then you go back in the late afternoon, evenings for finals, and they do kind of like the same thing. And you place first, second, third in your class.
Do you know what they're looking for?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. What do they do, like? What are they judging on?
Muscle and conditioning, essentially. So for it depends on what division you're in, like I said. So for figure, it's, you know, they want the round, bubbly shoulders, you know, you to be pretty conditioned, have those striated lines in your legs, in your back, and looking for like muscle maturity too. So
Okay.
I took the route of, because I hadn't been lifting for such a long period of time. I didn't have much muscle, so I came in as shredded as I could. My coach got me very, very lean, so that worked in my favor. Yeah.
On the posing thing, I don't think a lot of people realize that bodybuilders take posing classes
Oh yeah.
Really?
to get ready, because apparently the way you pose makes you look different
Yep.
and all that stuff. So I guess if you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, if you don't know how to pose, that could completely ruin your chances of winning the class. So
Oh wow.
I worked with Jim Driscoll's wife. She helped me pose. I took, I think, 3 or 4 classes with her
Is that
privately.
Angelica?
Yeah. Yep.
Heartland customers?
Yep. Hey guys. And she helped me so much with my posing, because it didn't come natural to me. I'm not one to, you have to have like some sass and some flirtiness to you. And then that was like pulling teeth to get that out of me, but she helped tremendously. Because if you don't know how to pose, that can just completely ruin your chances of doing well.
Huh. It's interesting. Yeah, I didn't think how that translated, but I guess that makes sense. It's
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
like photography, like the pose or the angles, as
Yep.
they say, that can make or
Make or
break.
break.
And
Yeah.
you said too, figure is what you said, right? What are the other like categories?
There's bikini, figure. There's a new category, wellness for women.
Oh, that's cool.
There's physique and bodybuilding for women as well.
Wow. So there's a bunch of different ones.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. So what is wellness then?
Yeah.
Wellness now is the girls almost look like distorted. I think it's awesome though, because it's all about your legs and your glutes. So they're
Huh.
looking for like massive tree trunk legs and big glutes. They're not so worried about like your shoulders or your back.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's some insane competitors out there.
Huh. So it's mainly lower body focused.
Yep, lower body.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. I didn't know there was all those different categories either.
Yeah, and I'm not very like well versed on all of them. Like I don't know
Well, you fooled
that
me.
much.
It sound like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I think it's an awesome story, just especially because like it sounds like you put yourself in an uncomfortable position quite often throughout this whole experience. And I think that is, you know what I mean? Like for everyone, you know, that like that's super important is to always just be challenging yourself and be in these uncomfortable spots. And then, you know, you have great stories to tell as you come out of it. But I mean, I want to applaud you, you know, for going through the, you know, that whole entire, I mean, telling us about the story and like really diving into it all, because it's a great accomplishment. And I mean, I've never done it. I've seen, you know, videos of people doing it. I know how like strenuous and how strict you have to be. And I mean, I just applaud your effort and for being willing to put yourself in those uncomfortable situations and go through it anyway. Like, I just think that's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's definitely, it was definitely something, like you said, you kind of have to hit your low to really make that change. And I will admit, I have quit a lot of things in my life, and that was like a pattern I noticed. And once I did this, I was like, I cannot quit. I cannot give up. Like, I have to see this through. I have to see it through. And it helped like just teach me the discipline that I was lacking in my life. And it gave me the confidence I needed. So it was much needed.
Yeah. I mean, you think about it in an era where technology and, you know what I mean? Like we want everything right now. And, you know what I mean? All those things like discipline, I feel like across the board is just one thing that a lot of like we're all lacking. We can always get better at, but I just see across the board, it's like that discipline. I think a lot of people, it's just easier to say, I'm not disciplined.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I'll just leave it over there. I'm not going to try because I'm not disciplined. Where if you challenge yourself, you know what I mean? Like everybody does, if you challenge yourself, you can build that confidence, you know what I mean, through those challenges. And like you said, just don't give up. I'm a Rudy guy. Like I love those stories where it's just like you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and you just hang on.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like you don't know what's going to happen.
Yep.
I think it's cool too how you said like it evolved. Like, you know, it started as you preparing for the show, and then you said like you still live like some of those aspects, like where you still prep your food, like you're still going to go to the gym. Like you may not have a competition or a show, but those are things that you took from that experience that still stay with you in everyday life.
It can change, it completely, you know, change the way that I live my life now. I've made it more manageable, maintainable, because I do enjoy ice cream and burgers and things like that. But I know the value of eating whole, nutrient-dense food. And I prefer the way that it makes me feel now over, you know, binging on Dunkin' Donuts and Chipotle and all of that. Like, don't get me wrong, I still enjoy those things, just in moderation. Like, I've learned moderation is key.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge lesson to learn. And I feel like we touch on it too sometimes in the podcast. And Justin, you mentioned it, that it's like, if you're doing the right things the majority of the time, you know, there's those times on the weekend when you want to have pizza and beer. There's, you know, there's times where you want to have Dunkin' Donuts, and you can have it, but because you're doing the right thing, you know, that other 85% of the time. And yeah, that's something to be commended for, I think.
Yeah, and that's once you get to a good place.
Exactly.
So in a different way, everyone sitting at this table has gone through the experience of, I'm making a really hard line in the sand, tough decision, and it's going to take, you know, months to achieve where I need to go, or where, you know, both of you lost over 100 pounds. You did the bodybuilding, getting on stage. You know, I've done similar things. There's those really tough moments in those journeys. Like, we talk about this. What was your like some of your really tough moments, and how did you not crack?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's huge.
That is a good question. I think, sounds so stupid. My biggest thing, so I check in with my coach whenever he told me to. At first it was like once a week, but then when you get closer to show, it's like every 2 days, every 3 days. No, check in tomorrow, like, because you're sending pictures and videos of your body. I remember every check-in I sent, I'd be like, oh my God, he's going to up my cardio. He's going to up my cardio. Because at first I started at like 30 minutes. And I was like, okay, this is easy. And then it goes to 40, and then it's 50. And then I got up to like 80 minutes of cardio. And when I mean cardio, you know, I'm not the one to get on the treadmill, hang on the treadmill, hold it, and like just like breeze. Like I was doing my cardio. My heart rate was at like 150, 160 beats per minute. Yeah. On the Stairmaster. So each time he would get back to me, and he didn't change it every time, but when he upped my cardio, I would cry. I just sat there and cried, and I'd have my moment, and I'd freak out, and then I'd be like, okay, well, now I have to actually go do this. And there were a couple of cardio sessions at like 4:30 where I just wanted to stop. You know, you get the cold sweats, you start to get dizzy.
Because you're also undernourished.
Oh, yeah. Bodybuilding, it's an extreme. Like, it's prepping for a show. It's not healthy. I mean, you can go about it the healthiest way you can, but at some point, you're going to be pushing the limits. So, you know, there were a couple of times I just wanted to step off that Stairmaster like 5 minutes early and just be done with it. But, you know, missing 5 minutes, like I was like, that could change my placing in the show. Like if I'm going to do this, I'm going to know, like I need to know that I gave it 110%.
Yeah.
And I didn't stop a minute short of my cardio or miss a glute circuit exercise or anything like that. So I think just, you know, the moments that I did want to quit and just cry. I mean, I did cry sometimes on the stairs while I was doing cardio, but like I wasn't going to stop, you know, like I put on like a motivational podcast or video and just I keep going, whether I passed out or not.
That's awesome.
One foot in front of the other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because you can't shy away from it. Like when you're doing stuff like that, like you have to run right into it. And like you said, if you're going to cry to keep going.
Yeah, right.
Don't cry to quit and stop.
Yeah, I'm crying, but yep, exactly.
And I think too, a lot of times you're like, well, I've already done, you know, my other 80 minutes. What's the last 5? No one's going to know. Like no one will know. Yep. Well, you'll know. And I think that's so huge what you said, like, especially if it was the difference in, you know, whatever placing or whatever. Like,
yeah,
you'll know.
Yeah.
You know?
Judges won't know that you missed 5 minutes cardio, but you'll be like, what if it was that 5 minutes? Or what if it was that spoonful of peanut butter I ate off plan?
Like, I think that's the mental discipline, though, that makes you a champion, though. I think that's the difference between the people that decide to, you know, like push through those hard times and for those that decide to stop or, you know, quit early.
Yeah.
Speaking of champions, so now I have a question for the both of you. So Justin recently had just won a championship. And you went through the bodybuilding. How important do you guys think it is to challenge yourself, like now, like after your college career and, you know what I mean, all those kind of things? How important is it challenging yourself nowadays? Justin, you can go first. I know with the championship, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I see it in all aspects. It's just every time you reach a new level, it's easy to do it again or get there again. And the next level seems impossible, out of reach until you get there. So I think it's just never being satisfied is probably, I mean, I can't turn the competitiveness off. Like we get to the rink sometimes. I mean, it's like we're none of us are going pro, you know, like that ship has sailed. We are here to have fun, drink beer. But at the same time, like I don't know how to not try to win.
Right.
So it's still serious to me in the sense that like, I don't care who's on the other side of the rink. I want to beat them.
Right.
We have to win, guys.
Right.
You know, that's just kind of how I am. So, and that's just how I try to be in every area of my life. Like on the sales team, like I want you to beat me every month so that I have a new bar to set.
Right.
Like try to beat me. Let's do this. Like I want everybody to win at a whole new level so that I have to win at a whole new level.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
That's growth.
Yeah, I completely agree with Justin. I am very competitive when it comes to things like that. And I think just continually putting yourself out of your comfort zone, which is something that I've always struggled with. Bodybuilding helped me step out of my comfort zone. And just to like push yourself, you know, keep going.
Keep pushing yourself.
Yeah, because I mean, we didn't really touch base on this, but I nannied for like over 10 years and I was comfortable with that. I felt safe with that. So like when I joined Heartland Foods, that was I was way like out of my comfort zone. And but it's what I needed to, you know, learn new tasks and new skills. And,
Right.
you know, now I'm looking for like the next thing to help get me out of my comfort zone.
And I think it's important to note, are you using some of those things that you learned from bodybuilding and that perseverance in your new job, in like, you know, your new challenge?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think that's, you know, that's back to the growth, is going through those things, learning them, and then being able to apply them in other areas of your life.
Yeah.
Right? Because when we were overweight, I mean, that's one thing we always talk about, is like, when we were eating those things, all the toxins and stuff, that's also affecting your brain.
Right.
Right. So it's really easy to eat trash and then make trash decisions at the same time.
Well, and you mentioned like your relationship with food. It's very easy to like get in like a downward spiral, or like get on yourself about you know, making a bad choice, and then it's not even worth me, like, you know, and then you kind of get in like a downward spiral. And again, that's with your relationship with food, how you like perceive that, and then, you know, your own insecurities around food as well. So
Yep.
Definitely.
yeah, it's huge.
Awesome. But yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I knew absolutely nothing at all about bodybuilding, but not only, you know, it's an awesome accomplishment. I know we just keep saying that, but it really, really is. And I enjoyed learning about it.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you guys.
Yes. Yeah, it was a pleasure to have you on. We'd love to have you back if you'd
I'd love
like
to
join us.
This was awesome. I'd love to.
Very cool.
I feel like we could go for hours. 'Cause I love these subjects. I get so hyped. Like after hearing Justin, I'm like, dude, I'm ready to go in the ring too.
Right?
I don't even ice skate, but I'm ready.
I don't know if we want to see that.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, no, it was a pleasure having you on. I mean, I admire people putting themselves in uncomfortable positions and then getting through that. And I think you've done that, and you're doing that, and I admire it, and I love hearing about it. And you know what I mean? I'm so glad I can be a part of the journey now. You know what I mean? Being a coworker of yours, like, and watching, you know what I mean? All this, like, as you grow. Because I mean, we talk about Alyse, you know what I mean, here, and we're like, you know, just watching you come into Heartland with your background and everything like that, and then not knowing where you're going, but like being able to kind of see the trajectory just in terms of like your hard work and your work ethic and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think, you know, Justin is a great mentor for that, because
Oh yeah.
the guy's a hard worker.
So hard in the beginning.
Right.
Right. I mean,
It
the hard
is.
work
Hard
never
work.
stops, but the hard work isn't hard once you're good at it.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you gotta I mean, the first 3 to 6 months of becoming a health and wellness consultant, I can't even think back, but trying to think of what it would be like to try to do that again. I mean, that'd be the hardest thing ever.
Yeah.
You got to learn it. You got to deal with the long drives, situations. You never know what you're walking into. There's so much anxiety driving to a house, like
Right.
until you're comfortable with doing that. You know?
Yeah.
So there's things that people don't think about. And it's also like, you know, I could do all this work today and make nothing, or, you know, I could have a new happy family and a new part of my network, and I'm building a referral. It's just, it's a lot. So we commend, I mean, the numbers don't lie. It's a 1%er thing. And you've demonstrated that you have 1%er discipline going into this. And that's going to just translate to the success you have in this and anything else you do.
Yep.
Right.
And it already has.
Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
All your support since I've started. It's meant the world.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We hope that you got some value with talking with Alyse today, and we'll definitely love to have her back. And with that, Justin, if there's anything else you'd like to say, you can go ahead and send us off.
All right. We'll be back next week. Thanks for joining us today, Alyse. And as always, stay healthy with Heartland.